Good evening and welcome to another edition of a Wednesday night edition of Sports Corner with myself and Smokin Jim Frazier. My name is Ralph Williams. Those of you who are new to the program, we're live here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter are our four platforms. And standing by in the waiting room is Marty Leap. But first of all, I want to say tonight's program is going to be dedicated to my late nephew, who I attended his funeral yesterday, Sean Negley Jr. He did pass last Friday, and we had the funeral for him yesterday down in Lawrenceville section of the city of Pittsburgh. And I want to thank everybody for all the prayers and support and helping me and my family get through this crisis with my nephew passing away. Anyway, I want to thank you for that, and tonight's show is dedicated to him as well. Smokin Jim Frazier, it's great to have you on board. How are you tonight?
Oh man, awesome to be back with you, and continue prayers for you and your family as you heal.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to go to our waiting room, and we're going to bring up Marty Leap from Rum Bunter. Marty, welcome to the program. It's great to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. And, just going to echo what Smokin Joe said, thoughts and prayers continue to be with your family, and condolences as you go through this time.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Marty. Thank you. Marty, the main reason we have you on tonight is to talk about the Pirates. I know you were down there for spring training. They've started the season off 4-2. They won today. They swept the Red Sox. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Reds. What's your thoughts on this season coming in? These veteran players, this different pitching staff. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, coming into the year, I predicted them to go 74-88, which, I mean, obviously nobody wants 74-88 to ever be the goal, but that would be a huge step in the right direction after the previous 4 years, really, dating back to 2019 when the bottom fell out there. And, through the first 6 games, there's a lot of positive signs. It's only 6 games. Can't put a lot of stock into it, but, this bullpen that I thought coming into the year could potentially be the worst in the National League. And it still may be, who knows? But they've been really, really good so far. The starting rotation, you want to see guys start getting deeper, but for the most part, they've pitched pretty well. To me, though, I think what's most encouraging through these 6 games is you look at some of these young guys, and they've done well. Like, you can see a substantial difference in O'Neal Cruz at the plate. Pitches that last year he would have chased that he's not. These young bullpen arms pitching well. Mitch Keller, Ronzi Contreras pitching well. Johan Oviedo, as bad as he pitched in the first inning on Monday to rally and go 5 innings was just incredible. So yeah, I think if you're looking at it as a Pirate fan, you have to be encouraged. Again, it's only 6 games, but I think coming to the year, anybody would have taken 4-2 in this road trip, especially with a trip to Boston in there. I mean, the Red Sox aren't as good they've been past years, but that lineup is still really, really good. So to go up there and sweep the Red Sox is never easy. So definitely a great start so far.
You think this is what I said to Smokin Jim a few times, and I said it last week on our last Thursday on our Blog Talk radio show. I said that I think this veteran leadership is going to be the key, the new veterans that they have brought in. And I think that when I watched the very first game and they came back and won, and I saw a couple of the, I said if it wasn't for that veteran leadership, I don't think we'd be where we are right now. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where some of these additions got overlooked, not just what they could provide to you at the plate or, at the pitching staff of a guy like Rich Hill, but that veteran leadership is so important. I mean, I'll go back to Monday night again. When Oviedo came off the mound after the first inning, if you were watching on TV, in the dugout, Rich Hill was right there beside him, talking him through things. And then he went out there and, like Hill did after struggling the first inning against the Reds, pitched 4 scoreless the rest of the way. Those are the kind of things that cannot be overlooked with some of this veteran leadership that they've brought in. And it's something they have not had a lot of the last few years.
Oh, absolutely. I'll agree with you on that. Rich Hill, I watched his first start. I wasn't very impressed with it. Is that something to be concerned about, or is I think he'll get better as we go. He's a veteran pitcher. And as you said, just having that veteran voice in your ear, I think is satisfactory enough. But, a lot of folks are saying $8 million for 1 year for a guy that went 8-7 and is 43 years old. I don't know. And his first start didn't look all that great. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, the things I'm worried about right now, Rich Hill is definitely way down towards the bottom of that. To me, it's first off, he's a veteran. You know what you're going to get out of him. Guys are going to have clunker starts. And outside of the first inning, he was tremendous. And even that first inning, the home run Jonathan India hit would have been an out at literally any other ballpark in the major leagues. It's Great American Ballpark. You're going to give up some cheapies, unfortunately, especially as a lefty. I mean, my oldest son and I were talking about it after the game, and the field he plays on for junior high and pony league baseball literally has a deeper left field than Great American Ballpark. So that's a factor. If that's any other ballpark, so say the game's at PNC Park, that's a routine fly to left field. He probably doesn't give up a run in the first inning. Even Newman's home run was a little bit of a cheapie for Great American Ballpark. And after that, he settled in and pitched really well. I think Hill will be okay. I mean, he's not going to come up here and anchor this rotation, be some ace or anything. But if he can take the ball every 5 days and pitch to the tune of a, 3.7 to low 4 ERA and provide his veteran leadership and 8 innings, that's exactly what you're looking for. And I'm pretty confident that's what they're going to get.
Let's talk about Brian Reynolds here for a minute. I know the Pirates are committed to give him money, 4 years, $106 million, but he wants an opt-out clause. You think the Pirates should suck into him on that, or do you think they should tell him to eat it and just and they still have 2 years of control over him, so there really isn't too much he can really do beyond that. But if he takes an opt-out clause and decides to walk out after 1 year, I suppose the Pirates would have to pay him all that money, even though he opts out. Is that how that works?
Well, the way an opt-out clause would work, once he opts out of the contract, the rest of the contract becomes voided, so the Pirates would not owe him anything else.
Oh, okay.
And what was reported there was that the opt-out was going to be for after the 2026 season. Personally, if that's what it is, I'm giving it to him because right now, as you said, you have him controlled through 2025. So even if he would opt out after 2026, you still get an extra year out of Brian Reynolds and you're currently set to get. So even if he opts out early, in some ways, it's still an extension. You still get that extra year. So to me, I would do it. And I honestly think if you're looking at it from Reynolds' perspective, I'm sure a big part of it is if 3-4 years down the road, this thing is still not trending in the right direction. He wants to get out of here and have the opportunity to win a ball club. But if, 3-4 years down the road, you're winning baseball games, I don't think it's really going to be a problem anyhow. So, if he wants the opt-out after 2026, I would give it to him. It seems like the Reynolds side has made a lot of concessions here. Eventually, the Pirates got to move a little bit too. I said this on our website last week, and I think it still holds true. We've reached a point with this where it ends one of two ways. They're so close to getting this done. Either the extension gets done or it doesn't, and it's a PR nightmare for the Pirates because at this point it would be on the Pirates to not get it done. The analogy I made was they're at the 2-yard line. Don't be the Seahawks in Super Bowl 49 trying to overthink this. Just hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch and get this over with. Just you're that close. If he wants an opt-out in 4 years, give it to him because you only have him for 3 more years right now anyway. I would give it to him, but I'm not the one making these decisions.
Right. I think that Bob Nutting and the Pirates need to do this because they've had too much bad publicity over the years. Bob Nutting opened his mouth, stuck his foot in it a few times, and more than once, he's pissed the fan base off, the media off, and everybody else off that's involved with this whole thing. And I believe that Bob Nutting needs to do this. But once again, Bob Nutting is doing something that, excuse me, dumb again. You don't want to pay his ushers that work at the stadium. Some of them have been there for years and years and years. They've even worked at Forbes Field. I know a couple of them down there that been ushering since Forbes Field. They went to Three Rivers and now they're at PNC Park, and they can't get a raise from Bob Nutting. I think that's wrong. That's not an easy job. Everyone thinks it is. You walk up and down a lot of steps. I did it. I used to be an usher at Heinz Field during the Steeler games back in 2010 and 11 seasons. And, I know what it's all about. I think Bob Nutting needs to stop getting involved in these bad publicity things like this and things like the Brian Reynolds thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a lot of really good and much needed positive PR for the Pirates to get this Reynolds deal done. I mean, really, if you go back since the end of last season, there really haven't been a whole lot of negatives for this team on that front, right? You went out and spent money in the offseason to improve this team. You have Andrew McCutchen back. you know, you're off to a good start this year.
They
There's a
signed their
lot,
number one draft pick.
yeah, you've
Yeah,
got the number one
yeah,
pick coming.
right.
You know, you have a strong farm system that's about to get, you know, most likely add Dylan Cruz, who's the most hyped draft prospect in quite a
I
few
think number
years.
5 in the league. Am I right?
Somewhere, it depends on publications, but
Yeah,
everybody's got them somewhere in that 5 to 8 range. Like,
right.
there's a lot of positives right now, and the on-field product is trending towards being one of those finally. You know, if you can lock up Reynolds, I think that definitely, you know, locking up Key Brian Hayes last year was a good step in the right direction. But if you can lock up Reynolds, that definitely, I think, helps soothe over a lot of the wounds of the past. And especially if you could then turn around and follow it up maybe with something with O'Neal Cruz down the line and really show that commitment. You know, if nothing else, it makes it easier for fans to listen and believe and be confident and patient when they say, hey, we need one more year. You know, hey, when so and so arrives this summer, if you turn around and say, all right, you know, hey, you're locking up Reynolds, you already locked up Hayes, you're spending money on Santana and on Hill and McCutcheon. Hey, I can see the effort being made. And, you know, as a fan, if an effort's made and things don't pan out, that's a lot easier to live with than when no effort whatsoever is made and
Right.
things don't pan out. Because if you make, not everything's going to work, you know, signings
Right.
don't work,
Yeah.
guys get hurt, whatever it is. But as long as you make that effort, most fans are going to be happy. And I think that's definitely something they can accomplish by just, you know, biting the bullet, giving him that opt out and getting this deal done. And I will say, I won't be shocked at all if something gets done tomorrow, because you know they're going to want, if they're going to get something done, they'd love to get it done before the home opener on Friday. Because I remember last year in the home opener, them being able to parade the Hayes contract out there was a big part of pregame stuff. And I'm sure they'd love to be able to do the same with Reynolds on Friday.
I have some media friends. I'm on shows down in Tampa, and I have some media friends that I've had on this program. They tell me G-Man Choi is the real thing. Is he the real thing?
I mean, I think Choi's definitely a very good player. One thing to watch with him, though, is, you know, he had that elbow surgery in the offseason. How's that going to impact his start to the year? He's starting a little slow at the plate. We haven't seen him in the field yet, and I think that just has more to do with Carlos Santana being the better defender of the two. I will say, I think had the Pirates signed Santana first, I don't know if they would have traded for Choi, because in a lot of ways they're the same player. But yeah, he's a good player to have around. And again, that veteran presence you've seen in the clubhouse. I like when Ji Bay hit his first home run yesterday and he was being interviewed by the media. I saw a picture of Choi standing there with a microphone, acting like pretending he was interviewing him. And just the little things like that go a long way in the clubhouse during a 162 game season, keeping things light, keeping things from getting monotonous and boring. So again, even if, let's say, he does maybe take a step back in his play because of that elbow, I think what he can provide in the clubhouse and in the dugout, that alone adds to his value. And he's got the track record that he's going to get going offensively. You know, he's a good hitter throughout his career. You know, like I said, he might start a little slow because that elbow screwed up his offseason routine. But I think in the end, Choi, I was just talking to a buddy of mine about that today. And we said how, you know, you get Choi and Santana going and you think they will eventually because they have the track record. And we saw Santana have a big day to play today. So yeah, he's definitely a guy I'm not worried about because if nothing else, if he falls back on his career norm, he's going to be a dude who's going to get on base a lot. And there's always value in getting on base.
Yeah, every one of my media friends down in Tampa had nothing but nice things to say about Ji-Man Choi. In fact, I had Leo Haggerty on here last month. He's with Amped Up Sports, and he reports for the Tampa Bay Rays and the Buccaneers. And he told me, he said, Ralph, he says, you got a bargain in Ji-Man Choi right there. That man can play. And I said, well, that's good. And it was good to hear from, you know, somebody from Tampa that could actually tell me that, you know, other than the fact that everyone else said that he was, you know, he was a good player. I'm interested to find out about this Bay kid or whatever his name is playing second base. I saw him play the first game and I'm like, who is this kid? And then when I saw him, I was like, wow, this kid's pretty decent. What's up with him?
Yeah, I mean, Bay's always been a pretty highly touted prospect coming to the farm system. He originally signed with the Atlanta Braves out of South Korea, but when Alex Anthopoulos got in trouble down there for the tampering issues in the international market, and the Braves were forced to return a bunch of players back to free agency, Bay was one of them, and the Pirates swooped in and signed him. He's always hitting the minors, can play all over the field. We've already seen him flash the glove at second base. This catch in center field last night against the Green Monster, one of the best catches you're going to see anybody in baseball make all year. The kid can fly. He can impact a game with his legs. Very, very excited to see what he does. I just hope the Pirates throw him out there, throw 600 at bats at him this year and see what he does. I've always thought that there's a lot of similarities between him and Josh Harrison. They're going to play all over the field. They're that spark plug type guy in your lineup. I think Bay's going to get on base more than Harrison did. Maybe not hit for his high of average, but walk a lot more. And, as we saw for all these years with Harrison, having that guy that can play 3, 4, 5 positions, play all of them at a high level, and be that spark plug catalyst energy guy, there's a lot of value in that. And I definitely think that's something Bay can add to this team.
Let me ask you this, Marty, and I know it's premature. What do you think the Pirates are going to do overall this year? Do you think I think with what I'm seeing right now and from the veterans that they signed, I think they could do close to 500. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they can hang around. I think they're going to be a lot better. In the past 4 years, they haven't played a lot of competitive baseball. And it's almost like when they won, it almost felt like a happy accident. That's not the case. They just went up to Boston and they didn't just sweep the Red Sox. They, for the most part, dominated that series. I mean, the Red Sox scored 5 runs in the first inning on Monday. The rest of the series, the Pirates outscored them 12-3. They were the better team from start to finish. Against the Reds, they were the better team in that series and just on Sunday couldn't come up with the big hit when they needed it. And I think too, once you factor in some of these young guys who are going to join the squad later in the year, that's going to help also. You're going to get some injured relievers back. I like I said, preseason, I predicted 74 wins. I'll stick with that. But I think it's a 74 wins where you come off the season feeling good. Like, hey, that's a 12-win improvement. That's a 74 wins on a team driven by a lot of young guys that are only going to continue to get better. That's a 74 wins where in September you're sitting there looking at a rotation where, in theory, it's like Mitch Keller and Contreras and Johan Oviedo, Mike Burrows, and maybe like a Luis Ortiz. And you look out in that lineup and you see Cruz and Hayes and Reynolds and Bay and these guys you've got under control for a long time. And Andy Rodriguez is here by then, Henry Davis. And you're like, all right, I can see the light at the end of this tunnel. I can see the pieces falling in place to be contending for a wild card spot and maybe beyond next year. So I'll stick with 74 wins, but I think it'll be a 74 wins where you come out of the year feeling really good about the direction in which the ball club is moving.
What's your thoughts on this pitch clock? This 15-second pitch clock, which in this you can't shift. What's your thoughts on these new rules?
Well, the pitch clock, I wasn't sure I was going to feel about it. I like it. I enjoy a baseball game that doesn't drag on forever. I'm all for the pitch clock. Now, I think it could be tweaked. I think when there's a runner on base, it wouldn't hurt to give the pitcher 5 extra seconds because there's just a lot more going on there, obviously, especially, late innings, 1 run, tying run at second base or something. I wouldn't hate maybe putting 5 extra seconds on there, even 3 extra seconds when there's a runner on base. But otherwise, I love the pitch clock. The shifting, I don't like. To me, the shifting rule came along because hitters couldn't adjust and couldn't hit. And to me, that's like, all right, well, your quarterback doesn't know how to read his own defense, so you can only play man. Like, learn to adjust. You don't like it, lay a bunt down to third base line, take your base hit, and force them to swing their infield over, and then you can pull the bat back and try and rip at the right field. Like, I didn't like the shifting rule. Again, to me, that was like if you're going to outlaw man coverage or zone coverage in football. But the pitch clock, I'm definitely a big fan of. I'm all for games like that. Look at that game Monday night, 7-6 with a combined, 10 runs in the first inning or whatever.
Yeah.
Under the old rules, that game wouldn't have been over at 11 o'clock. It would have taken forever, and it didn't. So I'm all for the pitch clock.
I'll tell you what, I went to a game and back 5 years ago, and Chicago was playing. The band was playing after the game, and it was a rain delay. And we didn't get started playing until 11 o'clock at night. It was a night game, started at 6. It's supposed to start at 6 because of the concert.
Yeah.
So what they did was, that's how long we had to wait for the rain delay to stop. And with the game, and then it went into extra innings because they were tied. And then by the time I got out of there, you want to know what time I got out of there, Marty? 4 o'clock in the morning.
I was going to say, I'm sure about 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah, 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. I walked out of PNC Park. It was crazy.
And even that, you want to talk about growing the game. I understand the pitch clock to the diehard fans makes no difference. But if you want a game to grow, you've got to make it grow amongst the casuals. And
Right.
I mean, I can speak of this as a dad with 2 kids in school. If you can go to a weeknight game and it's going to be over in 2 hours and 15 minutes instead of 3+, that makes a big difference late in the season and early in the season when in April, May, or in September when the kids are in school.
It's on
Or
school, yeah.
yeah, or even
Yeah.
if you maybe like me, it takes me about an hour and a half to get to PNC Park. Having that pitch clock might cost someone like me who lives a little further away to go to a
Right.
couple extra games because you're not getting home at 1 o'clock in the morning. You're still getting because you got to get next morning, go to work or whatever.
Yeah,
it is. You're getting home
exactly.
in a decent time. That
Yeah,
makes a
that's
big
why the
difference.
Steelers don't like Thursday night games
Mhm.
and Sunday night games
It's going to
because
hurt
it
the crowd.
interferes with a work schedule.
Yep. At that point, it's
Yeah,
easier to stay home and watch the game because you can, as soon as it's over,
right.
crawl right into bed and get ready for work the next day.
Exactly. Marty, thanks for being on the program once again. We'll have you on again sometime soon. Again, talk about the Pirates and what's going on. How was your trip in Florida, by the way?
It was good. It was good. It was always enjoyable to get down, and yeah, spring training was good.
That's good. One other question I wanted to ask you. They were talking about using robots. Did they use them at all
No, I know
for
they've
umps?
started to be. I believe at least they've started to be used in some of the lower minor leagues. I
Mhm.
could be wrong, but I know it's something that's getting toyed with at some levels. I think last year in one of the winter fall leagues, I forget which one. I'm pretty certain robot umps are being used, but I don't know. I don't know if robot umps are the answer, but what we got going on right now with umpires calling balls and strikes definitely is not the answer. There's got to be something else that could be done. I feel.
Strike three, you're out.
Yeah, no, there's got
You're
to be
kicked
something
out
else.
for arguing with me.
Yep.
Oh my. Smoking Jim, do you have anything to ask Marty before he goes?
No, outstanding information, Marty. Thank you.
All right.
Absolutely.
Have a great one, Marty. Thank you very much. And be safe. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was Marty Leap from Rum Bunter here to talk about our pirate expert. He comes on, tells us everything we need to know about the Pirates. Smoking Jim, what's your thoughts about what Marty had to say in the Pirates?
I tell you what, got me excited.
That's it, man. I mean, they're 4-2 right now. They don't look too bad. They have those veteran players. And that first game, and I said this to Mark Mancini last week. I said that first game, I think they would not have won if it weren't for the veteran leadership because it took the veteran leadership to make that game the way it was. And I believe that was the situation there. Today they won 4-1. They swept the series against the Red Sox. They are in the process of trying to. So what do you think about this Brian Reynolds thing, Smoking Jim?
It could get ugly, man. I hope it gets resolved, but who knows, man? I'm hearing different things on the contract.
Yeah, well, he wants an opt-out clause. Do you think that opt-out clause would work for him, or do you think the Pirates should tell him to eat it like I want him to do?
I don't know, man. That's a little. I wouldn't like that clause because you could lose a guy after one season, right?
Absolutely, you can. And you know what? I don't blame him for taking that clause, Smoking Jim, because when you take a look at what the Pirates have done, they've chased out some players because of how bad they are. They have players ask for trades, players don't produce. They figure, well, you know what? We're not going to win anyway. Why should I do anything? And yeah, I mean, I know Brian Reynolds doesn't do it, but there are players that do, and you know that, and I know that. But anyway, and I think that Brian Reynolds wants to win. And I think that this is what him and his agent are thinking. Well, you know what? If the Pirates are not going to win, I don't need to be here. And I don't blame him because remember they came to them and said at the beginning his agent said I want to trade, I want out of here. So that's where we are with that. Coming up at 9:00, or I'm sorry, wow, 8:00. Geez, I still got the time thing all messed up here. You're watching a very special edition of Sports Corner. We had to move it to tonight and cancel Talking Wrestling till next Wednesday. But don't worry, tomorrow night on Blog Talk Radio, 9 p.m. start time, 9:00 p.m., we will be myself, Mark Mancini, Smokin' Jim Frazier. We're going to talk about the fallout from WrestleMania, and I got some news for all you wrestling fans that you're not going to like. And I've done that. I've got some bad news. Yeah, it's going to be something that nobody's going to like, and it's already rearing its ugly head, and its effects are already affecting the WWE. And I think Smokin' Jim, you might have a pretty good idea what I'm talking about, but we'll leave the suspense for tomorrow night on Blog Talk Radio. 347-205-9631 is the number to call to listen to tomorrow night's show. Wrestle Talk, myself, Mark Mancini, and Smokin' Jim Frazier. Why we're here tonight? Well, last night we had the funeral for my my nephew who passed away, Sean Negley Jr. Tonight's show is dedicated to him. So we had the funeral last night, so we moved tonight's Sports Corner show, not to cancel it because we had to cancel it last Tuesday because of a situation involving my nephew when he was in the hospital. So therefore, we're going to be able to have it tonight instead. And next week we'll come back with Talking Wrestling. We'll have our Where Are They Now, our 2 top 10s, and we'll talk some more about the situation that everyone's going to find out tomorrow on Blog Talk Radio. All right, Smokin' Jim, let's go into a couple more topics here for a moment while we're waiting for Matt Vensel. NCAA basketball, UConn beat San Diego State. What was your thoughts about that game and the men's game?
Well, I tell you what, man, UConn, man, they won it about 5 times in the last 25 years.
Yes.
Just proving that Big East basketball is not dead. And you got a few pretty good coaches in the Big East, so maybe it might come up to be a top conference again one day soon.
In the women's game, LSU beat Iowa 102-85. Wow, what a high scoring game that was, huh, Smokin' Jim?
Yeah, 100 points in the game, man. That does that does great things for women's basketball. That is way down, especially in the WNBA. They're not making the kind of money that they think they should be making. Mm-hmm. But playing like this and having players like Clark from Iowa and some of the other players, man, is just develop a fan base for women's athletics, and that's what leads to, increased pay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm checking something here, Smokin' Jim. I want to make sure I gave Matt the right time. Okay, good. Because I didn't want to confuse him and say 9 o'clock, and we're not going to be here at 9 o'clock. At least I don't plan on it. So, all right, let's get into some small NFL tidbit here. NFL Network has fired Willie McGinnis. He's out due to admit a sexual or assault charges. What's your thoughts on this?
These guys bring it on themselves, man. You got the career that you want. You had an NFL career. Don't get no better than that. Then you got a TV job. You're a celebrity. You get a microphone and you get to speak to the world, your opinions, and these guys continue to make mistakes and letting the little head speak for the big head, man. So too bad it happened to Willie, but man.
Yeah, that's crazy. XFL, here we go. You ready for this?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to give you a little hint. He's a former Steeler quarterback, and he's on the move again.
Wow. Joshua Dobbs, maybe?
No, Dobbs got signed by Cleveland.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Paxton Lynch.
Wow. How many teams are going to take a flyer on that former first round butt?
Well, he must be a bust because Orlando cut him and San Antonio picked him up. So Hines Ward is going to put up with him now. So
wow.
Wow. Oh my gosh, Hines Ward's going to have to put up with him now. he's a joke, man. I mean, it's like he goes everywhere. You know, I think pretty soon he's going to be playing for the Mean Machine with Paul Crew and all of them there. You know what I mean? You know. I was watching that. The other day. I needed that too because of the situation with my nephew and some of the and I was the original version was on of The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, man. That was pretty funny.
Who was the warden and the guy from Green Acres, right?
Yeah, Eddie Albert. Yeah, Eddie Albert. You know who else was in that? And a lot of people didn't even realize it. Fred Gwynn played the Munsters. Remember Fred Gwynn?
Oh, yeah.
Played Herman Munster. He was in there. He was one of the prison guards. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Bernadette Peters. Oh man, there was some good people. A lot of good folks in that one. That was well acted. Yes, it was.
Bernadette was looking good, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Pitt football real quick. The spring practice is getting ready to wrap up real soon. April 15th is the spring game. Pat Narduzzi revealed yesterday that it looks like Phil Jerkovic is going to be his starting quarterback. I know you've said it and I've said it. I think he should be the starting quarterback, and I believe he's the man who can lead Pitt to the future and where they need to go. I look at this football team this year. They have a lot of guys coming back. Some of them are young, but you know what? At least they have guys coming back. They're not getting totally wiped out of players, and not a lot of transferred. So that's good news. Anyway, but the Pitt team. Men's basketball team lost Santos today. One of their key 3-point shooters. He transferred out, and John Hoogley's gone too. So that's 2 transfers. I'm hoping Jeff Capel doesn't lose any more. And real soon, Heather Lake's about to announce the new women's coach, and we'll find out where that's going to go down the road. What's your thoughts on those topics there, Smokin' Jim?
Well, to go way back on Pitt's pro day, from the numbers that some of the Pitt players have put up and the number of players that might get drafted and play in the NFL, Pitt definitely should have done better this year than they did. They were absolutely loaded, man.
Yeah.
Talent-wise. So the one good thing is Narduzzi is doing some decent recruiting, better than decent recruiting right now. Hopefully that continues. If Pitt's losing the kid in basketball, then they got to just go back in the portal and make sure they replace anybody that they're losing, because that's the reason why they were so successful last year, was they was able to get some talent through the portal.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I believe he's going to probably do that as well. My fear with the men's basketball team is if Tim O'Toole leaves, I think Jeff Capel's going to he's going to need to go out and get another decent assistant coach that can recruit. Tim O'Toole was his main recruiter, and he's talking about taking a head coaching job somewhere. And if that happens and Pitt loses Tim O'Toole, they might have a big problem as far as recruiting through the transfer portal. He was the one who executed all these transfers through the transfer portal. He was the one that sat down, looked at it, put it together, and did all that. So, all right, Smokin' Jim, we have Matt VENSEL ready, and Matt's getting ready to come up right now. We'll bring him out of the waiting room, talk about the Penguins. Matt, welcome back to the program. Matt VENSEL from the Post-Gazette, who covers the Penguins. Matt, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Give us something here about the Penguins here. I know right now there's a lot of negativity going around about the Penguins, the goaltending, the special teams. Now they're talking about the coaching staff, rumors about Hextall getting fired at the end of the year, things like this. What's going down there?
Yeah, there's not a lot to feel good about right now. That's for sure. I mean, I think we've all been waiting for this veteran Penguins team to flip the switch, and they just can't seem to get into gear. I mean, they haven't won consecutive games in almost a month. They've had a few good games sprinkled in. They've also had some bad losses, like the one to Montreal and Detroit. And, with 4 games left, they're a point out of a playoff position. So, I still feel like they're going to find a way to get in. I just see Sidney Crosby finding a way to get it done, even though he's kind of tailed off a little bit too here. But I think they'll find a way to get in, but you really can't have much confidence that they're going to last very long in the playoffs if they do. And if that's the case, yeah, I expect we'll see change. I mean, I think we'll see Ron Hextall probably gone. You wonder about who's going to be the starting goalie next year. You mentioned questions about Mike Sullivan too. So, yeah, I mean, if this team misses the playoffs or has another, first-round flame out, I think we will see some changes. It's going to be an interesting, what is it, 8 days here left in the regular season.
Yes.
There's very much a lot at stake for
Right.
this team and for Ron Hextall in particular.
Let me ask you this: do you think that there's 4 games left, Matt?
Right.
Okay. With these 4 games, how many of them do you think that they can win? And if there's some of these teams have to lose for them to get into the playoffs, do you think they would be better off just riding out this season and saying forget the playoffs because you're going to get beat in the first round? Or do you think they should try to win all 8 of these games or the 4 of these games and hope that the Panthers and whoever else is tailing them or up in front of them will start losing some games?
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely will and should go for it. I mean, you're this close. There's so much invested in this team. Even though it looks like their cup chances are next to nil, I mean, their core guys have had great years. I mean, Sidney Crosby, has 88 points right now, tremendous season at his age. Malkin's been healthy and had a pretty good year. I know there's some inconsistencies, but you look at the big picture, it's been a great year, better than I think anyone probably expected from him, given his age and his injury history. Letang has dealt with a lot on a personal level and a health level, but the guy just played 30 plus minutes in his 1,000th career game. So, I think you owe it to those guys to go for it. I mean, you're this far along, you might as well see it out. In terms of the path, I mean, every game is winnable. Toughest test is this one coming up here tomorrow night against the Minnesota Wild. Marc-Andre Fleury is going to play in that game. What a juicy little subplot, although he hasn't really the last time he played against the Penguins in Pittsburgh, he got pulled. But then from there on out, you're looking at 3 teams that are trying to lose. Maybe the players aren't, the coaches aren't, but those organizations are trying to get Connor Bedard. That said, this team can lose to anyone just like they can beat anyone. We've seen it time and time and time and again. So who knows? But I do think it's going to take probably 3 wins in the next 4 games to lock up a spot. And that 7 seed is important, that first wild card spot. I don't think they have any chance if they have to go through Boston and then Tampa or Toronto.
No.
But they can at least tell themselves a story that if they can stay on the Metro bracket, Carolina lost Svechnikov. Their goaltending has been banged up this year. If they get through them, they can say, okay, well, we've got experience and maybe a goaltending edge on the Devils. The Rangers, they thought they played them well last year. I'm not saying I feel that way, but I think the Penguins will tell themselves that story that if they get that top wildcard spot, that they can make it through that portion of the East bracket.
Is there any short-term fix to fix some of these mistakes? I mean, this special teams is out of control, and the goaltending has been sort of 50-50, I guess you could say. And I don't know if it's Jari's fault. I don't know if it's the Smith's fault. I don't know if it's the defense's fault. Where do you see who does this? I mean, it lies on the coach because he's the captain of the ship. But what I'm saying is, where does it lie here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, with 4 games left in the season, they're not going to overhaul the way they play. I mean, we saw last night against the Devils that when they try to play that speed game against younger, faster teams, it's going to look really ugly. But the Penguins have given no indications they want to alter their scheme. I mean, Mike Sullivan said as much a few weeks ago when asked about that. So if they're not going to make that switch, and it's probably too late for even to be worth their while, you look at special teams. That's one thing you mentioned. I mean, the PK has been really bad. I mean, there was a stretch there in the middle of the season where they actually were the league's top penalty kill for about 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they can do to tweak that. The power plays kind of runs hot and cold. You just got to, kind of live and die by your top talent there. Goaltending, you have to hope Tristan finds his game. He really hasn't found it. And one thing that could potentially give this team a boost if they make the playoffs is getting healthy bodies back on the blue line. I mean, part of the reason they've struggled so much here in recent weeks, the last 2-3 weeks is, they've had to count on guys like Chad Weedle, Mark Friedman, Taylor Fadoon, a guy who hadn't played in the NHL in 3 years. So, all their injured players are back on the ice skating. Marcus Pettersson's not eligible to return until the season finale because he's on LTIR. But Jan Rutta could potentially come back sooner. Kulikov could come back sooner. Not that these guys are great players, but they're better than the guys they're throwing out there.
Right.
I'd say if like the biggest thing that we could see change, at least in the next week, is just getting healthy bodies back on the blue line. Because you can make the case that Pettersson was their best defenseman this year, certainly their steadiest. So you can point to that as maybe one beacon of optimism.
Right. And Marino or Bodino, whatever, he's coming back too, right?
Yeah, Nick Bonino, the center.
Bonino,
yeah, he's back in the ice as well. I think when he's ready to go, maybe even this upcoming game here against Minnesota or the one after that, I think you see him play on the fourth line with Carter and Archibald, and then maybe Drew O'Connor gets bumped up to the third line.
Yeah, they had they brought these guys in from trades and all that, and then all of a sudden they all get hurt, and it's can't contribute and help out. You know what they say, can't help the club if you're in the tub. So I mean, but anyway. Matt, what else can you add to this? In fact, I wanted to ask you a question. If you're the Fenway Group, Matt, and you're in charge, what would you do at the end of the season if they make it to the first round of the playoffs and blow it, or if they don't make it to the playoffs? What would you do if you were in that chair?
Well, I'd go for a nice, long, fancy vacation, and then after that, I would. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at Ron Hextall and go from there.
Right.
It hasn't been all bad for Hextall. I mean, the trade to acquire Carter was a great trade. Extending him was a bad decision. You can obviously quibble with expansion draft choices. Bringing back Jari looked good for a little while. The Raquel trade has been good. He re-signed, the guys last offseason at a pretty team-friendly rate. So it's been a mixed bag, but his inability to kind of improve the supporting cast will probably be his undoing. And then shaking up the blue line and bringing back guys like Kapanen, signing Brock McGinn. I mean, I think that's ultimately what is going to do Hextall in. And then the cherry on top was acquiring Granlund. I mean, they really wanted JT Miller. They tried hard to get him. You hear mixed things on why it fell through, but it did. And then they pivoted to Michael Granlund, who I wrote about today. I mean, the guy has 1 goal, 3 assists in 17 games. He hasn't been bad defensively, but obviously, I think that's could be potentially the final straw for the Hextall era. So, I think Fenway Sports Group, they've been evaluating the team all year. Last year they bought the team midway through the year, so they didn't really get a chance to kind of get behind the curtain to see how everything works. That's what they've been doing this year. And, I think they will, if they miss the playoffs, I mean, I think there's plenty of things that have gone wrong under Hextall where they would move on. And then from there, you have decisions to make about goaltending. I don't know how you could bring Tristan Jarry back as your 1A. Maybe if you find someone else to have a platoon. Sullivan, I think he sticks around. They like him. He's a good coach. But I think you should want to see him show more flexibility at a higher level in terms of schematics and relying on younger players and things like that. So there's a lot to unpack, but then you first need to figure out who unpacks it. And I think that's the big thing. I mean, I think it's highly likely if they miss the playoffs or even kind of go out with a whimper in the first round that they will look for a new front office.
Let me ask you this. There's a report out that Ron Hextall was trying to sell out the whole team or whatever, or something like that. Can you confirm that?
I did not see that report. What was he trying to do? Trade away their top guys?
Yeah, he was trying to trade away everybody or something, or he was going to trade away the whole.
Yeah, I don't know I don't believe that to be the case. I mean, especially because they just turned around and signed all these guys last summer.
Right? Yeah, I know. Yeah,
and he couldn't even trade them if they wanted to because they all have no trade protection. I mean, they've pretty much boxed themselves into the core of this roster.
Right. I think that's probably one of those erroneous reports. Somebody who don't like Ron Hextall. And they just decided to come up with something. and it ended up on social media or something like that or whatever. All right, you say 3-1, Matt, for these remaining 4 games. I say maybe 2-2, and I pray maybe they make it 4-0, and they get through the first round of the playoffs and some kind of miracle. Some of these other teams get injuries and things like that. That could happen. They have happened before, and we'll see what happens. What's your thoughts as we close up here?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fascinating stretch here. If they don't take care of business, given just the opposition, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, these teams like Columbus is trying to get Connor Bedard. Detroit were sellers at the deadline. Who's the other team in there? Chicago. I mean, these
Right.
teams are all like bottom 5-6 teams in the league who are actively trying to lose. So, I think the Penguins will find a way to get in there. You have to figure the other teams in this race have been up and down, maybe not quite to the extent as the Penguins, were pretty close. I mean, Florida will win 2 games and then lose 2. The Islanders are scuffling a little bit, but I think the Penguins find a way to get in. But if they don't, especially when you consider how they look last night in their biggest game of the year, and also the opposition coming up, I mean, I think that will be particularly galling as far as the fans and probably the new ownership group are concerned.
All right, Matt, hang on a second. Smokin' Jim, would you like to ask Matt any questions?
No, great information, Matt. I appreciate you coming on, buddy.
All right.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you, Matt VENSEL, Post-Gazette reporter who covers the Penguins. Matt, thanks for coming on. We'll have you come on at the end of the season when everything is done, and we'll talk again. Thank you.
Sure, you got it. Have a great night.
All right, you too, Matt. Thanks. All right, that was Matt VENSEL, Post-Gazette reporter who covers the Penguins. Smokin' Jim, what's your thoughts on what Matt had to say?
Man, I tell you what, man, he was right on the money, but it's still a lot of speculation as to what's really going to happen, man. So, yeah, a lot of stuff could go either way.
All right. All right, Smokin' Jim, let's get into the Steelers for a little bit, and we'll finish up with the NFL because I have some NFL news. Steelers restructured this past week. They restructured safety Minkah Fitzpatrick's contract to free up some room to sign some players. They had Anton Harris, who's a offensive tackle. He from Oklahoma. He was in to visit. They also had they hired Glenn Thomas as an offensive assistant. Now, here's the reports I'm reading, Smokin' Jim, and maybe you'll agree with me or not. Now they're saying that this could be Matt Canada's. If Matt Canada messes up this year, even partway through this year, this Glenn Thomas, and I've never even heard of this guy, but I hear he's a great quarterbacks coach, a great offensive. He was an offensive coordinator in college, and a great quarterbacks coach. He was let go by I think the Atlanta Falcons or somebody. And so, what do you think about this hire of Glenn Thomas as an offensive assistant?
And who even knows, man? Man, some of the business that they do with their assistant coaches and some of the hires is just, you got to scratch your head. This is the first error in Steeler history since 1969. There's not one coach on their staff that is even being considered seriously for a head coaching job anywhere. You couldn't keep them off Coach Cowher's staff. You couldn't keep the Hawks off of Chuck Noll's staff.
Right.
Nobody wants these coaches.
No, nobody does at all. And I blame Mike Tomlin for that because Mike Tomlin wants all these yes men. And I've said it many times. He wants all these yes men. Instead of going, he would rather see the team lose and have yes men than go out and get some good coaches. Try to get along with them. There might be guys out there that you think have egos that might be smarter than you, but I would rather have an assistant on my team that is smarter than I am, that can help me out and bail me out of a jam and help me win some games, rather than have somebody that is a yes man and don't know anything and can't help me when I'm in a jam, right?
At the end of the day, who gets the credit for the wins and who gets the credit for the championships? The head coach.
The head coach, right. Right. And right now, he's mediocre Mike. I mean, it's that simple. You know, I mean, you know, he has yes men for coaches. That's the first thing. The second thing is and I've said this many, many times, I'm going to say it one more time here tonight. He has these guys that are just bums that don't know how to play any kind of good football that he leaves on this team. And it's really sad. Like, you know, like Kendrick Green. I mean, he should have been long gone. I mean, you know, so. But it's not his fault. I mean, he's just not a good player, and the Steelers drafted him. And then they put him in a position that he only played 2 games in college. So, I mean, you know. Yeah. They re-signed tight end Zach Gentry, signed veteran tackle, and this is the one I like. They signed this veteran tackle, LaRaven Clark. He was with the Eagles and the Titans. And I also like this signing here, Smokin' Jim, this Brian Fahorko, who is from the Chargers, defensive tackle, and he can also play nose tackle. I see this guy, Okunjobi, Cam Hayward, and DeMarvin Lew, if he stays healthy. The line's starting to come around. If you can get somebody in the draft, that's a bonus, or maybe another free agent off the scrap heap. What do you think?
Hey, you can't have enough good players, right?
That's right. And you know what? I will give the Steelers credit this year and Omar Khan credit. They went out and they got some guys on both lines of scrimmage to start, some veteran guys. And, you know, they went out and they signed some people, something that they really didn't do much of last year. And I'm glad that they, you know, really did it this year. And I think that, you know, it's going to benefit them in the long run, but they still have to draft. You cannot just sit there. You know what I mean? You still have to draft. Speaking of the draft, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. All right, tomorrow night, 6 p.m., PCTV, Channel 21, Comcast, 47 Verizon Cable in Allegheny County. And if you live outside of Allegheny County, not to worry, because you know why? You can watch it live on PCTV's Facebook page. That's right, Sports Corner Draft Special tomorrow night. We have a cast for you. Myself, Smokin' Jim Frazier, Platt from Channel 21 PCTV has a show called Platt's Point of View. He's coming on. Luther Dupree from Steel City Sports World will be with us. Also, we'll have Ray Fittipaldo with us from the Post-Gazette. And last but not least, from 412 Draft, he has a draft site called 412 NFL Draft. None other than our draft expert, Joe Kuglis, will be along with us as well. What a cast we have tomorrow night for this show, huh, Smokin' Jim?
None better.
Oh, absolutely. All right, NFL news, Smokin' Jim, I got some more bad news. Jared Elway's no longer going to be affiliated with the team. What do you think about this?
Who's that?
Denver Broncos announced John Elway's no longer going to be affiliated with the team. What's your thoughts on this?
I thought he was already done. Okay.
Yeah, when the new ownership took over, they bumped him down from, I think, a general manager or something to a consultant or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. What is it? The assistant to the assistant in the movie theater or something, you know. You know, if you have a head coach like like Steve Peterson did twice with he did it with Johnny Majors the second time around, and when he fired him, he didn't fire him, he kept him on. He was the assistant to the athletic director, and I heard he was going out getting his coffee and getting his lunch and washing his car and stuff like that. And he tried to do that with Dave Wannstedt, and Wannstedt told him where to eat it. So I mean, but yeah. So there you are. All right, Buffalo has finalized an agreement on a new stadium. They with the state and the city. And the Patriots, get this. You ready for this report? The Patriots, Bill Belichick wants to trade Mac Jones.
Wow.
I hear there's some friction. I've read a few reports, and I'm trying to reach out to my Patriots expert, Steve Belisario, and I'm going to find out if this is true. But I've read I read about 10 reports today saying that Bill Belichick wants to trade Mac Jones. He's looking to go into the draft and trade Mac Jones. What do you think about this? I think this is a surprise. I don't know if it's because of what's his face? Bill O'Brien coming in as offensive coordinator. I think maybe that's the case. I think Mac Jones might be tired of the Matt Patricia, Joe Judge flip the coin, call the play thing that that was going on all season. What do you think?
I don't believe it.
Right. Okay. Next, the Colts. Jim Irsay has said that he wants the Colts to draft a QB. You know what? No kidding. No joke. The Colts need a quarterback, Jim. Wow. Oh, my. He says he wants the Colts to draft a quarterback. Well, you just hired a guy who was an offensive coordinator, and now you want to, do that as well. All right. AFC North news real quick. Ravens are trying to look to offer a deal to Odell Beckham Jr. What do you think about that deal?
The Ravens are trying to.
Yeah, they're trying to get Odell Beckham. Yeah.
I don't know why he want to go somewhere where they don't have a quarterback that can throw, but
the Lamar Jackson. Noel here says our steady Jamarcus Russell lover. He says Jamarcus Russell to the Colts. There you go. Man, why not? What a way to start a new head coaching job off with that. All right. The GM for the Ravens made a statement today that the Ravens are going to draft a quarterback, regardless of the situation with Lamar Jackson. You think that's wise? I mean, they have Hundley and Lamar. Well, yeah, they're going to have to, because I don't see what Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean?
Well, there's only really one quarterback out there that it fits what they do, and that's Anthony Richardson from Florida. And I'm not sure he'll still be available. His stock is really on the rise.
I see that.
But yeah, he's a big guy that can run, and he got a super big army. Put you in mind of Lamar Jackson. But other than that, they kind of pigeonholed themselves in the system that they run. Not many quarterbacks or that type of player for that system.
Right. ESPN is reporting that the Ravens are looking at two quarterbacks. You ready for the names?
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater and Carson Wentz. What do you think of that?
Wow. Teddy can still play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was down. He filled in Miami adequately, I believe. With Tua one time. So. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Couple stopgap.
No, yeah. Stopgap quarterback in case Lamar Jackson decides to hit the road or whatever you do with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, also the Browns, they lost wide receiver Michael Woods. He's out for the year with a torn Achilles. So there you are. The Browns. I have nothing really to report on Cincinnati. So, I think they're trying to work on an extension for Joe Burrow. I believe that's what I read earlier today. They're working on that. And if you want to, for a quick minute here, Smokin' Jim, I have a mock draft, a full 7-round mock draft from Steeler Wire. Okay.
Wow.
Now, off the air here, we spoke about some of the mock drafts for the first round pick only, which we'll talk more about the draft tomorrow night. And don't forget, we're not only are we doing the draft tomorrow night on PCTV, but April 25th, Tuesday night, I'm having the same thing again. But it's going to be here on Sports Corner, here on our 4 platforms. And that's the Tuesday before the draft. So make sure you tune into this, because I'm going to have a big lineup of people and we're going to talk the draft yet again, but this time it's getting closer. So we'll have a little more things that we can talk about. All right. The first round Steeler Wire mock draft, all 7. And Brian Bianca, safety from Alabama. They say the Steelers are taking the first round. The second round, they're going to take Lucas Van Ness, edge rusher from Iowa. I don't see him falling Smokin' Jim, that Lucas Van Ness, I thought he was a first-round pick. On all the other mock drafts, they have him in the first round, unless they're thinking late first round because the Steelers got that early second-round pick. You know what I'm saying? You know.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And then their second-round pick, my man, Cody Mock. Yeah. From North Dakota State. Good. Yeah. All right. All right. Third-round pick out of Kansas State, cornerback Julius Brents. And then in the fourth round, they have wide receiver Charlie Jones from Purdue. And then also round 7, because we don't, at this time, we don't have a 5th and 6th round picks. 7th round pick, linebacker Cam Jones out of Indiana. So there's the 7th round mock draft from Steeler Wire. So what do you think of that?
Well, I think it sets themselves up for failure without a 5th and 6th round draft pick. They may get desperate and do something stupid in the earlier rounds. Those are important rounds usually for a team like this, the Steelers. The 5th and 6th rounds, sometimes they're successful on those picks, but to go 2 whole rounds without a single pick is surprising. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like trade it down a little bit.
I heard, yes.
Pick up an extra 5th round pick this year or 6th round pick.
Yes, that's why I read off to you about what I heard about the Houston Texans. Well, that's trading up. They're going to trade up, but I've heard some stories that they're going to trade down, and if they trade down, they can. They're one. Omar Khan has actually said they want to get fill in the 5th and 6th round pick. So
let's not. And before we are too hasten to give credit where credit may not be due to Omar Khan, don't forget now that I'm not saying that Kevin Colbert, who made his share of mistakes and never got his necessary credit for the mistakes he made here.
Yeah.
But he might have been able to do the same thing and bring in free agency money this year. Don't forget, this is the first year they've had where they didn't have to pay a franchise quarterback. So they got a ton of salary cap room.
Yeah.
And without Big Ben, and I'm shocked that they even had to redo Mika Fitzpatrick contract. I think they just did it, for salary cap purposes. But,
they did. They did his, and they did T.J. Watt's too. They restructured his.
Yeah. They a lot of times they can do that and give those guys their money up front, so they ain't have to wait all year to get their money. They can get their money right now, but they got a ton of room to play with. They should be even a little bit more even active in free agency because they don't have that $250 million quarterback anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. And if they have the money, they should use it. But it's not too bad to save it in case you get an injury or something. You need to go out and get somebody, and you have some surplus of something. I've seen teams go right up to the wire and then get hurt, and then have no salary cap money to mess with, and then you gotta think at the last minute, what are you gonna do? At least you have a plan. Yeah. I'd rather have a plan than at the last minute have to scramble. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I agree because the Steelers have been lying to the Steeler fans for years. So every time you turn around, they're right up against the cap. They've been lying about that for years.
Oh, I bet. It's they have liabilities. What are you going to do? I mean, them and the Pirates. I mean, look at Bob Nutting. How many times have I said it? Bob Nutting could come and knock on my door and be dripping wet with a raincoat and tell me it's raining outside. I'd have to look out the window because I wouldn't believe him. I wouldn't trust him. And I still don't. And what I don't get is why these Pirate fans do. I just don't. I really don't get it. But that's not, it's not my money. It's yours. So if you want to spend it there at PNC Park, more power to you. All right? More power to you. Spend it there. I'll go to a game if someone else pays for my ticket. I will not go to a game and pay for it because I feel that Bob Nutting is not a good owner at all for Major League Baseball. And I think that Major League Baseball should have hauled him to the carpet more than what they did. They did get on him about that, when they had that revenue sharing because it came out that he wasn't using it for the right purposes. And, he got in trouble for that. But, but other than that, he hasn't gotten in trouble for anything else. But the big thing is, what we have to concern ourselves with, Smokin' Jim, is what I spoke about a few weeks back. And I spoke about many times, the RAD board is not happy with the Regional Asset District Board is not happy with the Pirates. And they've already laid the law down to Bob Nutting. They're not giving them nothing, no more. And in 2 years, the lease runs out. So my question is to them, and they've already laid the law down on the Pirates, either start getting the winning team in here or we're not going to approve you for another lease. I'd rather us have they said they'd rather have a minor league team here that wins than to have a Major League Baseball team here that doesn't win. You see what I'm saying? And, if that any minor league team would come in here and take over PNC Park, and I mean, it wouldn't be no blow to the Pittsburgh area. They probably would fill that place, because people at least know that that they're trying, the minor leaguers, a whole lot better than the major leaguers at times. You know what I mean? So, pay less money to go to a game. Look at the Durham Bulls down there in Durham, North Carolina. They love the Durham Bulls. They sell out down there like crazy. But there's no Major League Baseball in North Carolina. Charlotte's trying to get a team. They don't have one down there. All right, now it's time for us to wrap it up. Smokin' Jim, any last-minute comments before we go?
Everybody tune in tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the show.
Oh, yeah, not only just at 6 o'clock tomorrow night, but 9 o'clock for wrestling, man. The fallout from WrestleMania is unbelievable. And you know what? I will admit, Smokin' Jim, I have egg on my face because I thought the Bloodline was going to go down completely. And I thought the Judgment Day was going to go down completely. And neither one of them have gone down yet. So we will find out.
That's the only time you've been wrong, bro.
Yeah, I was wrong. But I will tell you why I was wrong, because of a certain individual that we're going to talk about tomorrow night. So, I will tell you that made me wrong because, exactly. So tune in or listen tomorrow night, 347-205-9631, 9 p.m. start time tomorrow night. We're running an hour behind because of something that Mark Mancini has to do. And we're going to be on at 9 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. tomorrow night. And we're going to be talking WrestleMania, the fallout, what happened on Monday Night Raw this past Monday night, and so on and so forth. So tune in to Wrestle Talk tomorrow night. And don't forget, 6 p.m. PCTV, Channel 21, Comcast, 47 Verizon Cable, Allegheny County, anywhere in the United States and Western Pennsylvania. PCTV's Facebook page. We got a big following now down in Youngstown, Ohio, Smokin' Jim.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that is, man. Alaska too, man. We got some up there in Alaska. Oh my gosh,
Cool.
We got some of the mountain men up there following us now. So,
right.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, it's better than nothing. You know what I say?
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, also don't forget Fridays. Just another announcement. Friday's External Bum podcast has been moved to Saturday, 12 noon to 1. Me and Mark Mancini, myself and Mark Mancini with the External Bum. So don't forget to email me any bum that you have that you want us to talk about. And also don't forget to comment on the show as well with your bum. And don't forget Saturday night, 5 p.m., Sports Corner, myself, Smokin' Jim Frazier, PCTV, Channel 21, Comcast, 47 Verizon Cable. For Smokin' Jim Frazier, I am Ralph Williams. Have yourself a great night and be safe.